The sacrifice. Mama Nkechi lived in the heart of Umudum village, a small, dusty place where the earth was red and the sun never seemed to sleep. Her hut was made of mud bricks and patched with pieces of old cloth to keep out the wind. Inside, there was barely enough space for her and her only son, Abina, a boy of 12 who had inherited his father's quiet strength. Life had not been kind to Mama Nkechi. Her husband had died 5 years earlier in a motor accident on his way to the city. Since then, she had taken up all sorts of work, fetching firewood, washing clothes, and even pounding yam for weddings, just to feed herself and her son. Yet, she never complained. Her eyes always held a kind of fire, a silent vow that her son would not suffer as she had. Abina was a bright child. His teachers always said, "Dis boy na light o. E go carry village name go far." He loved books more than food, and every evening, while other children played football on the dusty field, he would sit under the mango tree, reading by the dim light of a kerosene lantern. One day, the school sent a notice. Abina had passed his common entrance examination and had been offered admission into St. Joseph's Academy, a prestigious secondary school in the state capital. It was the kind of school that produced doctors, lawyers, and even senators. Mama Nkechi's hands trembled as she read the letter. Her heart swelled with pride, but it also clenched in fear. The fees were high, 10 times what she had saved in her small tin box under the bed. That night, she could not sleep. She stared at the leaking roof, thinking of all the ways she could raise money. The next morning, she went from house to house, asking for work. She even approached Madame Igioma, the richest trader in the village, and offered to scrub her compound for 2 weeks straight. No rest, no food, just to get paid. Madame Igioma looked at her and scoffed. "You want kill Yasf because of school. Dat boy fit learn carpentry na. No be all of us go become lawyer." But Mama Nkechi stood firm. "Abina go dat school. I no care if I sleep for ground. He go wear dat uniform." By the end of the week, she had only managed to gather half the fees. Her hands were blistered, her feet swollen, but her spirit remained strong. Then she did something desperate. She sold her wedding ring, the only thing of value she had left from her husband. She cried when parting with it, but she whispered to herself, "You give me joy once, now help me give joy to our son." On the day of Abina's departure, the entire village gathered at the motor park. Even the headmaster came with a packet of biscuits and a worn-out school bag as a gift. Abina looked back at his mother, tears in his eyes. "Mama, I go make you proud," he said. Mama Nkechi held his hands tightly. "Just promise me say you go read well, you go fear God, and you no go forget where you come from." As the bus pulled away, she waved until it was just a cloud of dust in the horizon. She walked back home slowly, her heart full of hope but her pockets empty. That night, she ate only gari and slept with a smile on her face. But destiny, as it often does, had other plans. 1 week later, a letter arrived. Abina had been hospitalized. Something about a fever and convulsions. The school needed money for treatment. Mama Nkechi fell to her knees, the letter clutched in her hand. A mother's cry. The letter shook Mama Nkechi to her bones. She read it over and over, each word like a stone in her chest. Abina Day Hospital, the letter said. Malaria. Severe. He needed treatment urgently. She didn't have the money. Not a single kobo to her name. The school had done their best, but they were asking for help now. And what could she do? The villagers had already helped as much as they could. Even Madame Igioma, who never gave out anything for free, had offered her an old wrapper when Abina was leaving for school. Mama Nkechi walked from house to house, feet dragging, voice trembling as she pleaded for help. Some gave her small coins, others turned away, already tired of her constant begging. "We get our own wahala too," they'd say. "Not only you get Peking." But one old man, Baba Chakwudi, took pity on her. He was a retired carpenter whose own children had left for the city and never returned. "I no get money," he told her, "but I get goat. Sell am. Go help small." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she accepted the gift. She carried the goat on her back to the market, her feet sore and cracked. The traders haggled with her like she was nothing. "Dis goat lean I go give you small money." She sold it anyway. The money was just enough to send to the school for Abina's medicine and food. That evening, as the sun disappeared behind the hills, she sat under the mango tree, holding her rosary tightly. "God," she whispered, "I don't get strength again. But you get. Help my Peking. I no ask for mansion or money. Just let my boy survive." A few days later, a teacher from the school called. Abina was recovering, slowly but surely. "He day strong, ma," the teacher said. "The boy no gree give up. Say na him mama day fight for am." Mama Nkechi wept with relief. It was the first good news she had heard in weeks. She clutched the phone like it was a treasure. For the next few days, she redoubled her efforts, cutting firewood, fetching water, cleaning compounds. Anything to make sure she could keep sending little things to Abina. And Abina, on his end, didn't disappoint. He returned to class with determination. Even though his body was weak, his mind was sharp. He topped his class again by term's end. At the village, word began to spread. "Dat widow's son no be ordinary boy oh." People began to nod respectfully at Mama Nkechi when she passed. Children whispered that she was a woman of fire. But even fire can grow cold. One rainy afternoon, as she was returning from the stream with a bucket of water on her head, she slipped on a muddy slope and hit her back hard against a stone. She screamed, the pain shooting through her spine like lightning. The bucket rolled away, water mixing with the rain. Villagers rushed to help, but by the time they carried her home, she could no longer walk properly. Her back had been badly injured, and the local herbalist could do little. "She go need big hospital," he said, "and plenty money." Money. Again. Abina was informed, and he wanted to come back immediately, but Mama Nkechi sent a message instead: "No return. I day okay. Just focus on your books." But she wasn't okay. She couldn't work. She couldn't fetch water. She couldn't even stand upright without crying. The pain was deep and constant. Days turned to weeks. Hunger became a shadow in her home. It was during one of those nights, her stomach rumbling, her hands shaking from weakness, that she saw Abina in her dreams. He was wearing a white coat, standing before a hospital full of sick people, healing them with a gentle smile. A doctor. She woke up with tears in her eyes. "Na sign," she whispered. "God day show me say go make am." So she did the only thing she could. She began to sell the little things in her home, her stool, her cooking pot, even the mattress. She laid on the bare floor now, with only an old wrapper beneath her, but her spirit refused to break. The day Abina returned for holidays, he met the house nearly empty. He dropped his bag and ran to her side. "Mama, why you no tell me?" She smiled weakly. "You for do weddin', leave school." "No, you go finish. That's the only gift way I fit give you." He held her hands tightly, tears running down his cheeks. "I go take care of you one day, Mama." I swear. She nodded. I know. The Council of Shadows. The next morning, the village air felt heavier. Even the birds were quieter, their songs replaced by the rustling of tense leaves. Nyasha could feel it in her bones, something had shifted. As she fetched water from the stream, children watched her with wide eyes, whispering behind cupped hands. Their mothers pulled them away. Some gave her wary looks, others just fear. She was no longer invisible. By midday, Chief Whale summoned her again. She entered the shrine with her head high, necklace visible against her chest. He noticed. You found it. Nyasha didn't flinch. You knew it was there. I hoped you would not dig. She crossed her arms. You married me for this, didn't you? Not for alliance. Not for tradition. You married me because of what's in my blood. Whale's eyes met hers. For the first time, they were not hard. They were tired. Yes, he said. But not for power. Nyasha frowned. Then for what? Protection, he replied. From what is coming. He led her into the shrine's inner chamber. It was filled with old scrolls, dried herbs, and clay masks of forgotten gods. In the center stood a tall drum, its leather surface etched with symbols that shimmered faintly. Whale lit a stick of dried sage. There is a prophecy, hidden from most. It speaks of a fire child born of Zubedi's line. A girl who would rise when the earth thirsts for justice. Nyasha's heart skipped. You think that's me? I don't think, he said. I know. Suddenly, a loud horn blew from outside. Whale stiffened. The council is meeting. They've summoned me, and they know you've found the relic. Fear tightened Nyasha's throat. Will they try to harm me? They will try to silence what they fear. But not while I breathe. As he turned to leave, he paused at the doorway. You must come, Nyasha. Not as my bride, but as the last voice of the seers. Against every instinct, she nodded. That afternoon, the council gathered beneath the sacred Iroko tree, its branches twisting like reaching arms. Elders in red robes sat in a circle. The villagers stood behind, a sea of eyes. Nyasha entered, shoulders square. The murmurs began again. She wears Zubedi's beads. She is not afraid. She should be. An elder rose. Whale, you break sacred order. You bring a girl touched by fire into a place meant for men. She is more than a girl, Whale said calmly. She is the vessel of truth. Nyasha stepped forward and unrolled the ancient scroll. The wind blew gently. She began to read. Greater than, the fire does not come to burn, but to reveal. What was buried in lies shall rise in truth. When the child of ash walks the path, the spirits will follow, and the chains of silence shall fall. Gasps echoed. One elder stood up, shaking. That scroll was lost, how did she? Whale answered, she didn't find it. It found her. In the stunned silence, Nyasha felt something stir in her chest. A heat, not of fear, but of purpose. She was no longer the weeping girl forced into a marriage. She was the voice of the forgotten. And they would hear her roar. The fire dances. The crowd stood in stunned silence. No one moved. Not even the wind. Nyasha felt the air ripple around her, as if the scroll had disturbed something older than time. Then, slowly, the oldest elder, Olanji the blind, rose to his feet. His eyes were pale, but his voice was firm. I heard that scroll read once, when I was a child. It was the voice of her grandmother. Zubedi. She spoke before the council, too. Gasps ran through the crowd. She was silenced. Someone shouted. Yes, Olanji said. Because we were afraid of the change she brought. Chief Whale stepped forward. But this time, we will not bury truth. We will listen. Not everyone agreed. One of the younger elders. slammed his staff to the ground. And let a girl lead us into ruin. What next? Will goats rule the warriors too? Murmurs of agreement rumbled. But before anyone else could speak, a sudden whirlwind swept through the gathering. Dust rose. Leaves spiraled in the air. The flames on the council's ceremonial torches flickered wildly, then turned blue. The people panicked. Women screamed. Men stumbled back. And Nyasha stood still. The fire recognized her. She raised a hand slowly, not knowing why. The flames bent slightly in her direction, as if bowing. Olanji gasped. She has the mark. What mark? Nyasha asked, breathless. The old man turned his blind eyes toward her. Only the fire-blooded seers can call the spirits of the flame. It was said they would return when the world was near another breaking. Suddenly, Nyasha's vision blurred. The world faded again. She fell to her knees as another vision took her. The village was in flames. The same tree, the same people, but they were screaming. And in the middle of the chaos stood a masked figure in red. Not Whale. Not an elder. Someone else. Someone powerful. Then the voice returned, Zubedi's voice. Greater than, the fire does not burn the innocent. But it devours lies. The masked one comes. Choose your allies wisely, child of ash. Nyasha gasped and awoke with a scream. Whale rushed to her side. What did you see? She looked at him with wide eyes. The village. Burning. A man in red, masked. He brings destruction. A silence fell over the crowd once more. Even the doubting elders said nothing now. Only the wind whispered. Chief Whale rose, voice low but steady. Then we must prepare. The spirits have spoken. Nyasha, still shaking, looked to the horizon. Darkness gathered there. And the fire was just beginning. The mask of the red stranger. The village did not sleep that night. Torches burned longer. Warriors sharpened their spears in silence. Mothers held their children close. The elders whispered prayers they hadn't spoken in years. And Nyasha sat beneath the great Iroko tree, her mind spinning. She had awakened something, within herself and within the land. Missoula sat beside her, quiet for a long time. Then she said softly, you see things now, don't you? Like Zubedi once did. Nyasha nodded. And I fear what's coming. Just then, the warning drums beat, 3 quick strikes, then silence. The signal of a stranger at the gates. Nyasha stood. The villagers gathered behind Whale as he approached the eastern entrance. 2 guards held a tall figure between them, cloaked in red from head to toe, face hidden behind a carved wooden mask. The mask had jagged paint, half fire, half ash. Whale raised his hand. Who are you? The figure bowed slightly. I am called Sefu wa Mvua, the Sword of Rain. I bring a message. His voice was deep, smooth as oil. What message? Whale asked. The masked man looked directly at Nyasha. That the one who carries Zubedi's fire must come with me, or your village will burn before the next moon rises. The crowd gasped. Whale stepped in front of Nyasha. You dare threaten sacred ground. I don't threaten, Sefu said calmly. I only deliver prophecy. Nyasha stepped forward, her voice steady. What do you want from me? The stranger tilted his head. To help you fulfill your destiny. You do not belong to this place. You belong to the mountain of truth, where your powers will either awaken fully, or consume you. The flames of the torches flared at his words. One of the elders growled, he's a trickster. He speaks poison. But Nyasha looked into the masked man's eyes, cold, sharp, but not entirely cruel. He was dangerous. But he wasn't lying. She spoke clearly. Then I'll go with him. But not alone. Whale grabbed her arm. You can't. Trust him. I don't, she whispered. But I trust the fire. And it tells me this is the path. Whale's eyes softened. Then I go with you. No, Nyasha said. You must protect the village. She turned to Missoula and embraced her. If I don't return before the new moon, bury the necklace beneath the tree again. Then, without another word, she followed the masked stranger into the dark. And as they vanished beyond the trees, the flames of the village torches flickered one last time. The fire child was walking into her storm.